Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 26th regular board meeting for the Wenatchee School District. We'll open the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Esta junta se va a cabo en inglés, pero contamos con servicio de traducción. Si alguien gusta hacer un comentario público o recibir explicaciones en español, por favor indique su necesidad. All right, we're not going to work through the agenda. Board, are there proposed changes or modifications to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll move on to the consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda were, was there one? Oh, I was like, we're, sorry, I have a soccer game to coach at 7:30, so just going. The items on the consent agenda were sent to the board and posted online last week. The board has had the opportunity to review the materials and ask the superintendent any questions they have about any items on the consent agenda. The consent agenda for the meeting includes the minutes for the 5/12/26 regular meeting and the 5/18/26 board workshop, vouchers and payroll, personnel report, surplus report, contracts, and the May enrollment report. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It is moved by Julie and seconded by Mark. Any discussion? All right. All in favor of adopting the consent agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Bright spots. Corey.
Let's do it. I'm going to try to keep up the pace.
You should.
It's good. No, it's good.
I have someone that's going to sub for me.
Okay. No, that's good. The Wenatchee School District spotlight at each board meeting gives the school board directors and I an opportunity to highlight and celebrate something that is happening in the district and honor the great work and the educational experiences that are happening. And tonight is ASB night, and we have Orchard Middle Schools in the house, and they are well represented. So let's get started with that presentation. We'll have our speakers and presenters come up to the podium and join us. Thank you. We're happy to see everybody and have everybody here. Oh yeah, I love this. All right. Thank you.
First, I would like to thank you for just letting us be here to share more about OMS ASB. My name is Max, and I'm the ASB treasurer.
Hi, I'm Everly, and I am the OMS ASB president.
Hi, my name is Crusoe, and I am ASB vice president.
Hi, my name is Eli, and I'm another ASB vice president.
My name is Dean, and I'm speaker, ASB speaker.
My name is Micah, and I'm a secretary.
Okay, so I initially joined ASB because I thought it'd be a great opportunity to help out around the school and to get to know people better. I was able to do both these things and more. Overall, ASB was a good experience for me. It helped me gain leadership and speaking skills that will serve me well in the future.
This last year, we had a great talent show. There were 12 acts and 150 people showed up. It was a packed cafeteria. We have also had some amazing assemblies with games, challenges, and a ton of school spirit. My personal favorite being Snatching a Wig, where we were lucky enough to have Mr. Belton and Mr. Jackson join us for some wig snatching fun. Also, congratulations to Mr. Belton for tying for second place.
And coming up on June 3rd is our annual Spring Fling. The entry fees at the Spring Fling cost $5, but with your student ID, it is only $3. This encourages students to have their ID with them at all times. At the Spring Fling, we will be hosting fun activities and games such as a cakewalk, a dance, arts and crafts, and pie throwing at teachers. Even more, in the courtyard, we'll have basketball and foursquare.
Next week, on top of Spring Fling, we are putting on our last Spirit Week. Dress-up days were chosen with student input, as our student representatives gathered feedback from mentor classes. We tried to select days that were easier to accomplish, so many could participate. And I'm most excited for Meme Day on Thursday.
We are happy to announce next year's ASB officers, who were elected by 6th and 7th graders last week. Welcome the next year's officers. Speakers. Alexander Tadeo and Camilo Womack. Secretaries Corin Borst and Alexis Tadeo. Treasurers Theo Jackson and Wyatt Tabler. Vice Presidents Gazelle Perez and Sydney Somera. And Presidents Emilio Delgado and Yahaira Alonso. We wish them a great year.
I enjoy doing ASB because I like announcing the lunch every day.
Unfortunately, our speaker Charlie could not be here today, so I am speaking on her behalf. But she wrote, being an ASB has given us all great opportunities to become involved in the school. If I had one takeaway from being an ASB, it was to try to connect with the people around you more. ASB allows you to work with different people from different groups in the school, which is really cool. I'm really happy I joined ASB when I did. It helped get me to where I am today. Thank you again for having us. It has been a great year at OMS.
Well done, Orchard Middle School. Thank you for being here. Thank you for representing. We appreciate that. Do we have any representatives from Wenatchee High School here tonight? Oh, yeah. Okay, come on up. How are you? Great. Anais is here, so we can hear from Wenatchee High School.
Good evening, members of the school board. This month, ASB has had 4 team leader meetings, 3 Senate meetings, with the next one being tomorrow. And one of the biggest events we've had this month is Mr. Panther. Mr. Panthers is a boys pageant and is an opportunity for students to show their personalities, talents, and school spirit. And it gives students confidence and allow the audience to come together and support their classmates, and for parents to support their child. Alex Rigg won an award for fan favorite. Owen Harley won the dedication award, and Kate Devereaux got the crown with 2026 Mr. Panther. And another huge accomplishment we've had is Lipped Up. And Lipped Up is a school-wide music video that included students, clubs, sports events, or sports teams, and staff members. It brought so much energy and excitement to our school and gave everyone a chance to be a part of something bigger. This couldn't be possible with our ASB coordinators, Alexa Cantu and Parker Avery, for making Lipped Up happen, and with admin support as well. This project took a lot of time, planning, creativity, and leadership, and their hard work helped create something students will remember for years, and this video is coming out very soon. I also want to recognize some of the incredible accomplishments from our students' activities and athletics this year. The Wenatchee FFA barbecue team placed first at state, and Noel Poole brought second place for agriculture education. And our boys tennis team earned third place at state. Micah Shatuk earned first place in singles, and Tevin Hartzig and Nolan Alley placed 7th in doubles. Thank you. That's all I have for today. Can open up for questions or any discussion.
I was going to ask, when is the Lipped Up going to be ready for its opening day? Do you know exactly when, or is it just?
We're not very sure yet, but it's ready, and we're going to try to get it out as soon as possible.
Oh, it's awesome. I can't wait to see it. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Neither Gwen nor Maddie could be here tonight from Westside, but they did want me to share a couple of things. So even in their absence. So Westside's annual spaghetti feed and silent auction, they're very proud that it raised $7,000 this year. So they're very grateful for that. Their prom was a wonderful experience again, and a huge thank you to all the supporters. And they wanted me to remind everyone that they're having an art show at Westside. Thanks, everyone. An art show at Westside this Thursday at 6:30. And then graduation, of course, is June 9th at Town Toyota Center at 7 o'clock. So, all right, there is our spotlight. Thank you.
You bet. Kim, any citizen comments? All right. We will move on to special presentations.
All right. We're going. We've got a Wenatchee Valley Technical Skills Center update tonight, and that's the second row. So we've got Jeff and Rob and Matt and Pete, and we'll get your presentation queued up. And we're excited to hear from you. We haven't heard from you as a board since December, so this is very timely, and we're very excited. Thanks for joining us tonight and making the travels.
Does look like a test. No. Alrighty. Well, thank you guys so much for having us tonight. My name is Matt Piano. I'm with the Klosh Group, the owner's representative group on the project. Yeah, I'll let you.
Jeff Slister with ALSC Architects.
And I'm Rob Decker with Garco Construction.
And Pete Gelsing for Wenatchee Valley Tech Center, Wenatchee School District. I will just say a few words here. I just want to share, again, we've been through now 5-6 months, of actually construction. And then obviously beforehand, months of the planning and processing. And I know that when I stood up here in December, I just shared, really how amazing the process had been. It's changed a lot. It's been even better. It's really been an awesome one. I got to tell you, while I think we've become a pretty good, close group, we do have fun. From all the things I've heard through many different construction processes, I cannot be more happy and more proud of the team that we have. Just on the weekly, we meet, we talk, and it is really concise. Boom, boom, boom. There has been bumps, but the bumps get solved, getting taken care of really quick. And it's really because, one, these guys as a team and the communication and just all of the experience that they have. So I really just want to say what we're getting is amazing. It is going to be ahead of time. Okay, I won't say that out loud. No, we are there. We really are. We are already scheduled. And budget-wise, I know that we are going to hit that mark too. So again, I just want to say thank you. They're going to bring up a little bit more detailed information.
So a quick agenda here, but we'll go through our some guiding principles, project update. We've got some site safety stuff we want to talk about, how we're engaging with the students, schedule and budget update, and then discussion of some risk and responses as well. Starting off with these guiding principles, these were presented back in December. These were set, at the very, very beginning of this project, beginning of the design, and this is really what we've strived to hit every day on this project. Experience, this should be a life-changing building for these students, and provide programs that they need, provide connection, create a place for growth, and then also being good stewards for the district, for these students, for the taxpayers' money, and so forth. So those were the guiding principles that we've been measuring this project to make sure that we're meeting those. So I've got a series of images here that I'll show you. It's going to bounce between construction photos or current photos, and then the renderings of what these spaces will look like. So right here you see it, a OSB wall. This is a partition wall so that the school can function on where we're standing on this side, but behind that wall, the construction can happen. And being in an active site, it's important to be able to create those partitions. So this is coming into the lobby, but this is what the lobby will turn into once that wall comes down. Which through those doors, that's a culinary arts classroom. That's the first thing you'll see as you come into building A. Here's another view of that lobby. You see Pete's smiling face over there. Wanted to point that out. But then you'll see this is how that reception area will look. New flooring throughout, and then as you're going, jump back here, as you see the guy with the backpack going down that hall there. You come into what right now is where the cafe is, but it'll end up looking like this. We're going to orient that cafe being closer to the kitchen. Right now, they have to walk out and to behind the counter. The counter is now going to be associated with the kitchen. That wall with the door there with the window in it, that's directly into the kitchen. So student-run cafe, pretty awesome thing to have there at the school. Another view of that, and again, you can kind of see down into that lobby is where that guy with the backpack is. Then this is in the fire science. This is what we've torn down walls, demoed a bunch of stuff in that fire science. This is the status. There's actually, as of today, there's now framing going on in this space for the locker rooms is going up. But this is a classroom there and a fitness area for the fire science students. And then another view in the turnout gear area. This is where they'll store all their equipment, and then locker rooms and laundry room and such there. And then another view here. This is actually inside the classroom looking out to where we just were. And then jumping outside, these are foundations or footings that we've poured. Tomorrow, we actually start tilting panels. So drive by tomorrow or Thursday, you'll see some stuff. I think Pete said he's selling tickets. So come take a look. It's going to change a lot here in the next 5 days. They're setting all those panels in the next 5 days. So Monday, I think they'll be wrapping up with the panels. But this is what'll be inside. So the new fire apparatus bay. So and training area. There's a mezzanine above. We don't have an image of it, but above this space we're standing in, there's a mezzanine where the fire science kids the chief can turn off all the lights and crank up the heat and put in some fog and make the students crawl through mazes and really learn how to be firefighters. It's neat to see what they do. And then what's that? Yeah, I think it's a great, I have to talk to, team being, yeah. So another view. This is looking back towards building B. You can see it there in the background. But then they'll have this other door here. It's going to open up, and then it'll actually go out onto like a little workout prow. It's like a little patio that they can open that door and go work out outside, kind of like CrossFit gym type style, and then have access to the little lawn that they play games on and train out on there. And then this is jumping over into building B. This is one of the general classrooms. This is how it sits right now. This window you see with the 2x4, that's a new hole in the wall. They cut big old concrete, or it's concrete wall. They cut big old window holes out, and it's changed the space significantly. So that's what this space will turn into. And then this is jumping into the medical classroom, so the medical occupations classroom. A lot of work going on, construction happening over in building B. This is where we started. This was phase 1 of the project. So you'll see a lot more construction work happening in B. So this is medical occupations and what it will turn into. And then another view in that same space, there's this side, there's the exam rooms. More hands-on training is on this side of the wall, where you've got exam beds and different cabinetry and work tools to work and learn on. And then this is actually jumping over into the dental hands-on area, dental occupations area, and they'll actually have 4 dental chairs. And they've been working with Patterson Dental to get all the equipment bought out and delivered here just in time to throw it in there and have students start learning. And then this is the classroom side, the lecture side of the dental, and it'll turn into something that looks like that. And then here's the lobby. So this is the existing lobby. It's a 2-story space. You can see up tall, there's skylights, and we'll open it up so that you can now see upstairs. And that on 3 sides of this, you'll be able to see up and what's happening up there. So it'll be visual connection, audio connection. You can see what's going on up there. And then if you can see that little W, I don't know, whoa, that guy right there. So that area up there is going to be this next area we look at. So there's a little seating area, a little breakout area that the students will be able to go and have a conversation between class. Pete will be there kicking kids out to go back to class, but and then behind those two windows is a little conference room that teachers can go use or students can go use. And then this is another view kind of from this framing that you're seeing here. That's all going to get taken out, and then we'll be able to see down below. And that's a view of that kind of coming out and being able to see from that sitting area over into the general classroom areas. So I think that's my last slide, but that's what's happening construction wise here. So pass to you.
Thanks, Jeff. It's good to be back in front of you. Thanks for having us back. Just want to touch on site safety. You know, this is the most important thing when we're planning our day and planning the project, is that we have a safe site, especially at an occupied K-12 facility. And so just wanted to reinforce, this is the most important thing, that our student, staff, and faculty are safe on this project. We have, as Pete said, great communication amongst our construction team and the school. And so some images, you know, the one on your left are those holes that we cut in. And part of, I get to do a lot of K-12 work, which is really fulfilling. Part of managing safety is doing work when students aren't there. And so that was done during spring break. And so we'll have a lot of work that'll be happening during the summer, this summer. So we have some busy months coming up ahead. Another item we do to keep students safe is simply delineation. Some of those temporary walls that you've seen images of, and just keeping them out. But you know, the most important thing to Garco is that this is a safe site, not only for our own workers, but for student, staff, faculty, and of course the public. So just something we wanted to mention today. And then the second most important thing, I think, is student engagement. And so this is a photo, a recent photo. The person standing kind of pointing off in the distance is Seth Albrecht. He's our superintendent. So he's in charge of the construction on site. And you see a bunch of students listening and learning from Seth, our superintendent. And so what a fulfilling, really just neat experience for us. A lot of times we don't get this opportunity. You know, our hope is that some of these students are inspired, that they join the trades. And let me tell you, they're high paying, you know, living wage jobs, you know, and it's really rewarding work doing these sorts of projects, not only for this, but actually doing the work yourself, you know. And so hopefully we can inspire the next generation of trades. And this is just something else that we're happy to do. And this is a really neat part of this project, is that we can share that with these students. Okay, just schedule update. We are on schedule. So essentially we have the building B, that upstairs, what we'd call a tenant improvement. Some of the science, nursing, dental programs will be done for school this year. So 2026 start of school year, right? Is that how you say that? Yeah, for fall. Fire science and then culinary and cafe will be complete. We are going to be moving the administrators into what's now the the culinary classroom. They'll be functioning out of that space while we redo their space, and that'll take us through the end of this year, and that'll be the project. Pretty quick, 12-month project. We only started. It seems like a long time ago, but it was, you know, only 5 months or so ago that we actually started. So we're just about halfway through. Any questions on safety, student engagement, or schedule? Great.
Rob, it's just so interesting when you showed the picture of the window being created with the forklift holes in it. I just found that extremely fascinating because the way that Seth described it in our weekly meetings, he's like, we're cutting next week. And that's what he was referring to, is these ginormous cuts.
Yeah.
And these what is one of those cement slabs weigh?
Great question. I am, if I gave you a number, it'd probably be
Nope,
wrong, but.
understood. Yeah, they're heavy. We'll just,
They are heavy. Yep.
and we cut multiple of those
I
in,
wanna say
like
13.
the
Jeff?
whole, yes. So
11.
it was quite impressive. So just the engineering of that feat alone, because as I was watching this happen, I'm like, I was thinking like suction cups and things like that. And then I saw this and I'm like, oh, it all makes sense now. It all
Metal through it.
and it's just perfect. Yeah. So anyway, it was a cool process to be able to watch that. And we're very thankful that was a spring break project. But that is actually a picture of how the materials are getting lifted into the mezzanine, correct?
That's actually the panel coming off, but we
Yeah.
are accessing, I think that was the first one we cut,
Mhm.
accessing that upstairs so we don't disturb as much as possible student flow
Yeah.
into and out of that space.
That's fantastic.
On the
Anyway,
first floor.
just an observation. Thanks, Rob.
Yeah. And one more comment just while I'm here. Just some praise for the district. Jeff and I were talking earlier. We wish all of our clients were this way. It's just a very, again, I get to be around a lot of school districts. It just has a great feeling here. And so you must be doing something well. Pete's doing great things as well, but it's really fun to be a part of. So thank you.
I can talk about one part, at least for Sean, budget. So good news is, budget overall statement is in a very healthy position. Some big milestones budget wise, and as this team is well aware, I think it was April 14th, we did execute GMP amendment number 2, which kind of brought us full circle with that initially validated $10.6 million budget for construction costs. And that's like kind of the essence of design build, right? When we go out to procure our design build team, we essentially have a dollar figure for what the construction is going to cost. And then once the contract or the contract's awarded, they go into this validation phase where this one was about a month, a very accelerated programmatic design. And then, Rob and team kind of getting some initial cost estimating and saying, yes, we can do this project for 10.6 million. So fast forward, right? That was September 25. Fast forward to April 26, we get that contract locked in for that dollar amount. Highlighting kind of bullet 2 here is procurement of furniture package and then procurement of the low-volt package. So those are actually carried on like the owner's side of the budget, if you will, right? There's a dip, we got 10.6 construction budget, but the overall is about 14.1. So that delta carries costs on the owner side. 2 of them are bigger ones, or furniture, especially for this project. Not only do we have to chairs and desks, but as Jeff alluded to, we worked with Patterson Dental to pretty much build a real life dental clinic. I mean, that is dental chairs with, compressed air and vacuums, and you have, real x-ray pass-throughs in that facility. So it's true hands-on training for all the students in that environment. And then next slide here is budgetary focus. Rob and I have talked about it a lot today, but we're kind of at this spot in the project where we've been able to mitigate risk, right? There's some things that have come up, and we'll talk about that on the next slide, but a great risk mitigation is contingency dollars, right? If some things come up unforeseen, we have money set aside to handle that. Well, we're now at a project about halfway through where we've mitigated a lot of risk, and now we want to start looking at other opportunities to maximize the overall scope of the budget within the confines of the schedule and within our contingency parameters. But that's carried within the GMP. The design build team has a contingency, and then on the owner side, we also have a contingency. So working with Pete, we already have a list. We kind of prioritize some betterment options, and then as we continue on here, we'll work with Pete to kind of say, hey, this is what we want to do. Share that with Corey, Sean, and the rest of the team, so you understand kind of what packages we're adding back. And we won't exceed that 14.1 million, but it's just really maximizing that budget we do have available. All righty. Any questions on budget?
One thing, Matt, as we talked through this, I know you just see this team and Corey, and Sean, but I will say our technology group, and Brian with maintenance operation, it is all hands on deck. Because I do think through the years, different projects. Oh, sorry.
it does matter to make sure that everyone has input because they are the ones who are fixing and working on. And so, I mean, gosh, now I'm out of it. So it's really, it's challenging. But that has been, I think it's gone really well, just as a team and a group. But as you're talking through budget, I mean, those are big conversations that we're having. So it's not just like me making decisions or Corey and, Sean telling us not to spend, but it's like, it's the whole district. And so I just want to say, again, thank you to them as well.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And Pete's right. I mean, Marlon will have his team down there once a quarter to walk the site, tell us, hey, this should go here, this should go there. And then to Pete's point about Brian and his team, I mean, a key betterment is mechanical units to make the, increase the efficiency of the district and integrate the controls really just to kind of give the entire, the tech center an opportunity to integrate more within the district and make their lives a little bit easier. So now we'll kind of talk a little bit about risks and responses. Rob hit on kind of item number one there as far as active campus. I mean, that's just standard with this type of construction. And I think one of the key things, and to give Seth Albrecht, the superintendent, a shout out, I mean, he meets with Pete weekly, if not daily. He gives them logistics plans, not only so Pete knows, but so Pete can communicate it to the staff and to the students. So I think that's been critical. Building A and B, we did encounter some wet soils, which is just, it's a subsurface condition. You can do geotechnical analysis, but you're not going to get the full picture. Really able to work through that very quickly with our geotechnical engineer, our civil, our structural team. Rudnick and Sons is a local contractor, really stepping up to the plate and helping us work through that. And the fix was a geotextile fabric with 3 8-inch lifts of crushed rock. So we were really able to move through that without any schedule impacts. I mean, there will be some additional dollars, but nothing significant, and just kind of speaks to the communication of the team, right? These do come up. It's construction. It's very standard. So just grateful to be working with this team on that. And then supply chain uncertainty. I mean, this is another, this bullet hasn't left the slide since 6-7 years ago. It's just kind of the world we live in. So huge aspect of design build and alternative delivery is getting your general contractor on board early so you can buy out those mechanical packages, right? Those long lead packages, one of which is our precast concrete that's arriving tomorrow, a bit ahead of schedule, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, we're really just excited about the opportunity to work through any risks as they come up, and that's just rooted in our communication and kind of teamwork. So alrighty, well, at this point, it's another thank you to everyone for having us tonight. Really appreciate it. And to echo Rob's point, this team works really well. The district's part of that team, and we really appreciate the opportunity. Are there any questions?
I have one. Jeff, roughly what are the dimensions of these prefabricated slabs? I mean, just like, are they?
weigh?
Sorry. Are they like 20 by 30? Like just
So
like.
I can't tell you the weight. At one point I did know the weight per foot, and I could maybe do some math, but there's 44. The heaviest, yeah.
44,000.
So
That's awesome. Yeah.
So they can't be more than 12 feet wide, or you can't drive them down the road.
Okay.
Missoula. And so they're 12 feet wide, and the tallest one I think is about 36-ish feet tall. And so that would be the big one that he's got the weight. Yeah. I think there's only two, maybe 4 of those. About there. Yeah, there's a few of them. So
I love it. And I'm not trying to put anybody, these men are amazing. So I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot or anything, but I just appreciate the work that, and the energy that is coming from this team. We have weekly meetings and I love going to them just because I learn so much every week, but they're fun. I mean, you guys have a good time and you get business done and we appreciate it. And it just blows me away what Seth rattles off in about 8 minutes, what he can get done. This is what we did this week. Here's what we're doing next week. It's amazing. So really appreciate all you guys. Thank you for the hard work, for the passion, and really taking a culture that Pete has created out at the tech center and putting that into this building. And big 6 data point, number 6, real and relevant learning. You have industry standard spaces for our students to learn from, and that will change lives, just as that slide says. So we just applaud your efforts and thank you.
Well, and I want to just add a little bit, what the slide where it shows the students, in the construction site, what better experience than to firsthand experience that industry, right? Than to be part of that. I'm not sure to what extent they get involved. But if to whatever degree, I could probably say like 20 years or maybe 10 years, somebody's going to drive by the student that was part of it and be like, I was part of that. So I agree. Hopefully engages more students to be part of the trades. Thank you. And you can tell it's like a party house over there when you all get together.
Just, I guess, really quick. That is our construction trades team, and they've met now three times throughout kind of each phase. They're doing framing and roofing on their own individual projects. So I think what has been cool is that first part, they really got to see tricks of the trade when they're their first lessons and visits. Everything after that has become, okay, here's the other industries, other sides of construction that you can go into. And I mean, even when I walk through, I'm always like, wow. I mean, and those kids, they're like, oh, whoa. Sometimes it's like a little over the head, but it will spark something, I think, for sure.
Thanks, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
All right. So we're kind of on a 6-month cycle. So we'll probably see you again in December again. Is that kind of what we're thinking maybe? Maybe before then. I don't even like it. Right.
Yeah. They'll be done.
All right.
Again.
Well, let's do it earlier then. That sounds great.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Good. That's right.
Tim, are you presenting tonight? Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, let's introduce you. We have our Director of State and Federal Programs here tonight, Tim Shepard, in what is his last official school board presentation. Oh my goodness, Tim. I love it, but we're so glad you're here. Thank you. The presentation tonight is a deep dive into Washington School Improvement Framework from the guru himself. Having and reviewing different data sets is very important for us to have a holistic picture and proper understanding of student growth across the entire population and in our subpopulations as well. So this is a lot of work that Tim has spent a great deal of his career working on, along with school improvement plans as well, and has guided our district for the last 2 years, and actually more than that in this work. So Tim, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, school board, for being here tonight to look at WSIF, another component. In October, I talked about the LCAP, and so you learned about that a little bit. And so this is another component that connects to that. So I'm going to talk about what. So today we're going to look at understanding what WSIF is. It's going to be a very high overhead pass because there's a lot of details involved in it. So I want to give you some background, and then I have some follow-up information for you to look at on your own time. We'll talk about a brief history and purpose, how it's used, and then what I had just mentioned about connecting it to the LCAP, but then also how it connects to the school improvement plans that are annual. And then the most important part, why does this matter for students? So WSIF is the Washington School Improvement Framework, another acronym. It really is Washington State's accountability system. It's a continuous improvement framework, so hence the word framework in there. Something important to know about it is that it is a school level performance framework. So it's not with district, it's more about schools. When you go into the report card and pull up WSIF, it's going to say right in there, there's not a WSIF for a district, it's for individual schools. And so it provides annual school and performance data. Well, where's it located at? It's important to know. So it's on the report card website. If you go into the report card and you pull up a school, again, you can pull up the district, but it's going to list all the schools because it's all about the schools. once you go in and look at it and pull up a school, if you go, there's a banner on the left side, scroll way down, it's quite a ways down, hit that WSIF button, and whatever school you pulled up, the WSIF data is going to be over on the right-hand side, like all the other buttons that you pull over. So that's a picture of it. And then also that top document shows you how to get there as well.
Oh, yeah.
Just a brief history of WSIF. It was developed by OSPI, so it is a state document of framework. It was created following the ESSA, the Every Student Succeeds Act that happened in 2015. So we had Nickleby and then we had ESSA, so it was a result of that. And with this, it was looking beyond just the test scores. It focuses on growth, equity, and continuous improvement. So it really expanded that to give a more well-rounded picture of what's happening as far as improvement in schools, because those are all the things that affect it. It's more than just the score, which I know is well known. What does it measure? It measures 6 different things. Academic achievement, so the Smarter Balance assessment. The academic growth, so it uses the Smarter Balance and then does a growth measure with that. It looks at graduation rates. It looks at attendance and chronic absenteeism. It looks at English learner progress, so from WIDA scores. And then it also looks at post-secondary readiness. So in that packet on that set on page 2, you'll see a graph very similar, very similar to what you have there. So this is the most common view of WSIF. It's the summary, and just a little bit about it. It has all students as the first measure, and then and this is a combined score. So it has 10 pieces that it looks at, it combines them and gives you 1 score. And so that right on the far left, you have all students, but then you have the different subsets or groups of students. And so you're not looking at just one single overall, you're looking at all those different groups of students, including English language learners, low income, and students with disabilities. So those are all areas that are considered when you're looking at your WSIF score. So how is it used? At the state level, it's to monitor performance of all schools. So every school is a part of this, and allocate support for identified school of improvement. So first of all, how you doing? And then what schools need some support? And so that's what this is all about. At the district, it analyzes trends and set priorities. And as I mentioned in the last presentation, the LCAP, it helps you develop your LCAP and then monitor the progress. And then at the school level, very similarly, it helps you analyze trends and set priorities, and then develop your SIP and your monitoring progress. So that's the connection between the district and the school. How are schools identified? I don't know if you have heard, we're on a school of improvement. It's an identification that you have. It's comprehensive support and improvement. It's targeted support and improvement. It's additional targeted support, and then it's focused on, which is all focused on support and improvement. So you have 3 different levels, and then, but it's all for school supporting improvement. And OSPI is real careful that, it's not a gotcha, but it's how can we help you? Mm-hmm. It's a support model. And again, that's why they went to a more robust number of measures to do that. Again, in that packet, so how are they identified? So you can see have 2 different lines here. You have it. Start line is 5%, below that 5%. But if you're a Title I school, you're going over here because of the different, just the different things that the schools and students and families deal with. So Title I is a lower threshold, and then you have the school's identification threshold. So anything above or below this line and below, those are the schools that are identified for school improvement and extra support. And it's support at the state level and the district level. Does that make sense? Okay.
In how many categories?
In all of those categories.
So, it would be below the threshold in all categories.
It could be anyone.
Anyone.
Anyone or all.
Oh, okay.
And so that's why they have different categories of support.
Okay.
Yeah. And so if you've been in it a while, you might have been comprehensive where you have a lot. But then as you get better and start growing, it could go down to like, I know that Orchard Middle School, well, the only group that they're dealing with right now is the students with disability. That's the only one they're identified for.
But that puts Orchard into
A level of school improvement.
school improvement.
Yep. Yep.
And similarly, with West Side, it's always graduation rate, 4-year graduation rate.
Yeah.
Yep.
Open Doors,
Mhm.
Engagement Center, and West Side, and it's graduation rate.
Yep.
So it's a tough thing to get when you're at those two specialized programs, and they keep on talking about changing that metric, but they haven't yet. Yeah. But we get some extra support and some extra funds, so have to look at it from a positive angle. So this works through the same continuous improvement cycle that I talked about in the LCAP, data, planning, action, monitoring, and adjustment. So you're identifying your needs, you're implementing different strategies, you're monitoring the effectiveness of those, and then you're adjusting your supports as needed. Same cycle that they're suggesting for LCAP and school improvement planning. So connections to district planning. Districts use the WSIP data to establish the LCAP and plan goals, aligning resources and staffing, support strategic planning, and then focus on equity and student outcomes. As a part of this process, there's a comprehensive needs assessment that is becoming more and more important to get to some of those being able to align the resources and then making sure you have the right strategies in place. And so I'm really proud of the district and our work that we did this year with the LCAP, how we've been monitoring, and then how we've been supporting the schools to do the same thing. And that's going to continue to be a cycle that we're doing here. And so that's why we really want your input and support with that process. We don't want it to be just something that we're doing because it's a compliance issue. We want it to, because it actually can help if you allow it to. Building SIP plans, again, it's that school-specific goals that are connected and aligned to the district LCAP. And it has action plans and interventions as well, has professional learning priorities, and then also progress monitoring systems. So again, through our LCAP, we always have a professional development plan. So it would be ideal for the schools to link into that. What do I specifically need at my school that's connected to that PD that we're providing for the whole district? And so that's where the beauty of the SIP plans is. This is what we need. We know we want it to connect to the district plan, but this is that particular part of it we're going to do at the school. And then most important is just those monitoring systems. And you want to be doing that regularly. So here's some examples of alignment. You have some attendance concerns, so you do some attendance intervention. Reading growth is an issue, so you want to look at what literacy supports you're going to do. EL progress, you want to make sure that you have a language development as a part of that. And I am super excited, especially in my last year here, to see that that is a major focus for the whole district. Because not only do our English language student need it, most of our other students need it as well. And so to have some of those strategic interventions that we're doing, strategies that the whole district from K-12 are doing, is going to make a difference in the long run. And then, you have graduation gaps. We just mentioned that. So it's mentoring and making sure you have recovery supports along the way. So why does this matter? Well, first of all, it focuses on equity and student growth. Super, super important. I know that's important to our district. and, and that's a major part of our LCAP as well. Promoting early intervention. You're not waiting until the end of the year. As you're monitoring progress along the year, you're making changes. And then between the years, you're making larger changes. And if you did well in this area, great. What's the next step? What is it for our district? What is it for my school? And then, with the WSIF, it gets back to supporting that whole child outcome. And super wise decision after Nick will be for us to be doing that, from the federal government to the state level, and then developing a framework for us to have as for goal setting and support. And then just to improve access and opportunity. The support that the state provides is huge, and they're getting better and better. There's a lot of stuff already out this year. They got sidetracked with COVID as well. And so now they're really catching up, and we already have a ton of stuff. I've been getting lots, and so I've been passing it along and, dealing with it as I'm, sort of winding up and getting ready. But they're getting better at it, which I think is encouraging. And I've been doing school improvement for a long time. So, and then your role as the school board, just monitoring district goals in conjunction with the strategic plan. It's a great strategic plan, and I like the connections that we've made with our LCAP this year. And so just helping Corey monitor that, making sure you're continuing to look at student data outcome, making sure that our equitable resources are allocated correctly, and then just continuing to ask improvement-focused questions. You all deal with some type of improvement in what you do, even with your family, right? So thinking about those questions that are so important, continue to ask of Corey and the cabinet and of the administrative team, and getting down to the building level. So key takeaways, it's an accountability framework. It uses multiple indicators. It supports continuous improvement, and it informs the district and school planning. So follow-up resources. This is your homework. I'm assigning homework, my last task. So in the second packet, it has a few pages that I just want to highlight. There's so much that we could, it would take a couple workshops to really get through how this all works. But the key highlights is just what are the most important things about it, and how is it different than other things that we use? The second page, if you're a data nerd, this to look at how the different components are weighed. So they're not all of equal value, okay? So this would show you how they're weighed as they are combined to come up with that one score. The next page is, well, I see this, I have opened up a school, but there's some data that's missing. And I dealt with that this year. It's like, and I had no clue. We had to go to the state level. People are getting frustrated with me. They're saying I was entering data wrong. It's like, I don't enter data. That comes straight from, and so these are some reasons that it would be. It happened to be at one of our schools that is dealing with special needs, students with special needs. Their number was so small to give us information could indicate what students were talking about. So they leave that out. That's great, protects those kids. Okay, so that's just one idea. Schools closing, new schools that are coming in, not enough kids in a certain group, they're not going to measure it that way. And then the next one, which is probably where you want to spend most of your time, it gives how it's calculated for each of those different areas. So how is the ELA and math proficiency figured? How is that growth on the next page? How is the growth figured? How do they figure graduation rate? How do they use the English? How do they figure what your English language proficiency score is? 9th grade on track, dual credit participation, and then attendance. So all 6 of those things that it measures. So those are all, it took me a long time to figure this out. If I would have had this is fairly new, it would have sure helped just to know the how, which grade, because not every grade level has all of them, which ones, and then why is it included and why does it matter? So it gets into that part too, up to why they chose what they chose. It wasn't an arbitrary, but a long process to figure out a system that would be helpful. And then the last packet, we wanted to give you a sample of 3 schools in the district. You can go on and look at them all. I just didn't want to give you all that. So we did an elementary, we did Abraham Lincoln. That's my my alma mater. And so you'll see the final score, you'll see the summary, and then on the back, you'll see the student growth. Look at that growth. Look at that growth. Just kidding. And then you'll see Orchard Middle School. Again, the summary, and then the growth. And what's interesting about Orchard is the areas that they focused on this last year are the 2 areas that grew the most. It really does make a difference. So English language learners and students with disability, it still is low, but there still is growth. And then the high school, Wenatchee High School, you can see what those are. And then the growth on the back side. Okay, so thank you for allowing me to share about WSIF. I know upcoming in June, you're going to be looking at some growth, school growth, and Eric's going to be leading that. And so this is just a good, step to that's going to be happening on that student growth component. So it's how they're connected. Any questions?
I started to look through it. I was like, I can't ask Tim all my questions from these 3 packets you gave me. So thank you for giving me a bunch of stuff to make more questions for you or for Tori.
Okay, absolutely.
How long has OSPI been utilizing this?
The WSIF?
Uh-huh.
Since 2000, I mean, it was developed in 2015, so it would have been close around there, that time period. It just, we didn't really pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was part, and then it became a bigger deal and they would do more seminars about it. Now it is the deal. And so that first packet, that was from the April 2026 webinar. This is the packet from that webinar. And it's the latest, they always tweak it a little bit from time to time. And
Well,
then just also, we are in year 3 of a 3-year cycle. So you stay in school improvement for 3 consecutive years. And then on that 4th, at the end of that 3rd year, so by the end of next year, we'll be in another cycle, 3-year cycle. So they do an annual metric, but then they do a 3-year one as well. And then however things turn out by averaging those 3 years or however they do it, then they'll identify schools for the next 3 years.
Tim, that was a good answer. The one thing I'll add is, as this was being developed, it was quite controversial at first because people were like, how are they going to be able to take these 10 factors and actually give us a single metric on every single school? And like, people are like, what's going on? And then, and that was when it was preliminarily being talked about. And then we had to wait 3 years to get our first 3-year set of data. And so now you're looking at 2019, probably, when those first data sets came out. And then it was highly scrutinized. But now, as Tim has kind of shared, it has grown into something that it's still a lagging indicator, but it's a lagging indicator that shows your trajectory on the things that you're actually focusing on, which is really great, even though we know we'd love to focus on all 10 areas if we could at all times. But the way that Tim has outlined this is there's a through line. Your WSIF data to your LCAP, to your school improvement plans, all the way down to student growth data. So bless you. How does this holistic overarching data impact the classroom? That's the through line. And you really have to focus on what our building plans are diving into to get to the data. So I appreciate you explaining a very complex system and giving us some of the tools and resources that we can find out a little bit more on ourselves. And please dive in, process, ask the questions, because we're all learning as we move through this work. So anyway, I just wanted to thank Tim for that. And that was a great question, Maria.
You kind of alluded to it that a lot of what is on these school improvement plans are already some of the framework for our ELA learning and things of that nature. Can you, without maybe getting too into the weeds, explain the difference between our general approach to ELA as we've been kind of working through it as the district versus a school that's in school improvement? Do they do extra emphasis in some of these areas, or?
Yeah, being a principal that did that for a long time, absolutely. And so you would take, that we're more strategically using the LCAP than we ever have before. We always had an LCAP, but it wasn't something that drove what we were doing. And so that was one of my goals when I took over last year, was to make a more strategic use of the LCAP to drive it too. So you have your overall goals, and that's what you really would develop your professional development plan, how you might use funds. And then at the building level, you still want to make sure you have those foundational pieces that the whole district is doing. But something I might have done is, this is what I noticed at our school around that certain component. Is there a group of students that I'm going to have to do something extra for? Or we got that, we've been in school improvement, we're a leader in that area. So is there another one that we can take on that would just, maybe it's going from the general reading to writing and making those connections. So I think that's something I did at Lincoln. I was a leader because we were getting very strategic, but it was based on what the LCAP, the district plan. And then because what we found out is, what we found that was working maybe in intervention, it needed to be something that we are doing in core. So then we would take it and how do we make this core so that everybody is getting that strong foundation? Because intervention isn't going to take care of it if your core isn't strong. Mm-hmm. And so that would be one strategy that you might use. It might be, maybe it's even parent involvement. You're having trouble with, school environment. What are you going to do? And that was before we even took the parent engagement part of it. How are we going to more include parents and get that support? So we have some things that we want schools to be doing in their SIP, but they also have the flexibility to make it what they need based on their specific school scores and data that they're doing. This next year, we're going to do a strong comprehensive needs analysis. We're leading that from the district this year. We'll be doing that next week. And so then they'll have that information analyzed for them in some ways. They'll have to go deeper, but this is what we found out. This is what we need for our building next year to put into our SIP plan. Yep.
All right, Tim, I actually found one. So for the growth data, the 2023 cycle, that means it's a 3-year roll-up of data.
Yes.
And then you're having annual. So we'll have a 2026 cycle as well.
Yeah.
Coming up here.
Yeah, at the end of next year.
End of next year.
We're going into our 3rd year.
Okay.
26, 27 is the 3rd year.
Great. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
But that will show everything will shift down one. So it'll say, will it say 2024 cycle? And then we'll have 25 and 26 data.
Yeah,
will be
when
the annual.
it comes out this year.
Perfect.
Which is just a normal annual cycle.
Gotcha.
Yep. So I encourage you to get on report card, go down to WSIF, because it really is all that data together, and we know that that's important.
Well, and as Tim said, if you want to geek out a little bit on some of the data, now that you have the knowledge to be dangerous, yes, and you can really see where people have been intentional about the work, and then what we'll do is we'll try to create a better alignment and understanding of what that looks like. We wanted to make sure that Tim presented the LCAP information before you saw all the school improvement plans. and then coming back with the SIF presentation today is kind of brings it all together. So we'll have these cycles that we'll be able to look at data more intentionally and more efficiently over time. So it's good. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Last one. Wow. How's that feel? A little bittersweet, maybe? A little bittersweet. Excellent.
Left us hanging. This is good stuff.
Yeah. That was the mic drop. That was the Tim Shepherd mic drop. I love it. Oh my gosh. All right. The next presentation that we'll queue up, Diane and I wanted to take you on a quick journey through the bond spring engagement process in preparation for our update on June 10th, the day after Westside graduation. Our friends from Integris will be here to talk about almost the same topic but they're going to look at it from their lens. You've gotten little snippets of all this information in the weekly updates, but this is kind of the comprehensive overview. And I just want to talk to you about the first slide. So Diane, if you have the power, she does. So I think a lot of folks don't understand that to get to where we are with the upcoming bond, hopefully on the ballot in November, some conversations, some discussion and decision making in the next two board meetings has taken us 3 years of planning and preparation to get there, specifically starting with the 2023 survey and study. And we know that the survey and study is an opportunity for us to really spend time looking at all of our facilities and all of our buildings. It's supposed to happen every 6 to 8 years in a school district. The last one that we had prior to 2023 was 2014. And I'm sure the district was preparing for that as COVID hit and threw us off a little bit, but we got that work done. The professional inventory of all the conditions of the school district. And really it was kind of the backbone of the starting point of our facilities committee as well. So very important for us to look at. Obviously that number of 49% was the score that Wenatchee High School got, helped our facilities committee drive that work. So as you all know, in 2024, we started that facilities committee. We began with 50 members. We began by studying enrollment trends, facilities data, including that survey and study. It was a long process. We had 15 months, we had 9 meetings, and we got down to about 22, 23 continuously attending members at that time, not because they were unengaged. It's just, it took us a while to get through that process, but it was great. And then that group made the recommendation to the school board about a year ago. I mean, maybe a little bit longer, but basically we're looking for the projects of replacing Wenatchee High School and all of the HVACs in our 7 other schools. And then that recommendation presentation by the committee and accepted by the school board. We know that one piece is missing in there, not missing, but we wanted to talk about it strategically is then we had a board workshop in August of that same year where we did a deep dive into the report of the facilities committee. So that was very important and very intentional for our board to get behind this work. And then we hired architects in 2026. And the interesting piece is from that board workshop until now, we had some time, that we know that we needed to fill with meaningful community engagement. And that's exactly what we've tried to do this spring that Diana's going to talk about. Thanks, Diana.
Yeah, great segue. One of the things that we learned back in 2018 when we attempted a run at passing a bond for Wenatchee High School was we needed to do a better job engaging our stakeholders around the project and the visioning behind what a future Wenatchee High School would look like. You and I know that Wenatchee High School is as much a community center as it is a place for learning. And so it was really important to us that we deeply engage the public in thinking through and visioning what a future Wenatchee High School would look like. And we also needed to do better work engaging our students in that process. We build these buildings for students, not for the adults. And so we really wanted to make sure that they had a stake in it and really had opportunities to provide input and engage with the process. And like Corey said, we hired Integris. You've met them, they've been here. And we hired them because of the skills that they brought to the table of really being able to connect with our community, really understanding the Wenatchee Valley the first time we met them. And during the interview process, we really got a strong sense of these people will connect with our community. They know about us. We didn't have to do a lot of education behind the different places and spaces and aspects of our that make our community unique. So that allowed us to hit the ground running in February, just shortly after we signed a contract to begin doing this work. Our goal was to spend, yes, Tucker.
I was just saying, just before you move past that, I mean, I think also the restructuring committee should be thrown in that, just because it's not only about the buildings, but also the programs we're having in those buildings. So, I mean, I think you guys were also thoughtful about including that part of the conversation in, do we want to have a bunch of high schools? Jake Buchholz, no, not this time. But like, just to include that in the process, because I think that also feeds the discussion.
It definitely has been our thinking throughout as we reimagine school in the Wenatchee School District. We're looking at ways where we can see growth and meet student and community and family needs. We really brought that to the table as we were thinking through the design process for Wenatchee High School, but we also had to look at ourselves as an entire system and how we wanted to best utilize our facilities. So that was, facilities committee work was more of the functional side of things, where we need to make improvements and repairs. And then the restructuring committee was also looking at, what are the programs in those spaces and how do we best utilize those spaces to meet the needs of our students and our communities and help those kids become future ready. So that was definitely part of this as we thought about what is Wenatchee High School in terms of program. It will continue to be a comprehensive high school. We heard that loud and clear from our community. That's what they want to continue to have, as a 4A comprehensive high school here in our valley. The questions we were asking and the engagement that we set out to do starting in February and just wrapping up pretty much right about now was around what were priorities for our community. What did they want to see in the next high school in terms of spaces? What were some improvements? Some bigger questions we were asking too were, what are spaces that we should be preserving, such as our auditorium, our gyms, our common spaces, some of the larger areas, our pool. And so those were questions that we asked throughout this process too of our community, is what they would like to see those spaces look like and how they'd like to access them. But we set out through kind of a multi-step approach in inviting people to come to Wenatchee High School. So creating opportunities for them to engage and see, because seeing is believing, and also to go out to community and meet people where they are. We certainly did not expect everybody to show up to an open house. We're all busy. And we needed to meet people where they are and give them an opportunity to provide input. One of the things Corey has said throughout this whole process is we want to make sure that every person was given the opportunity to provide input, whether that was through an online survey, through an event, or maybe they saw us at a community event, but they had a chance to engage with the process. So that's really been our goal. The graphic that you're seeing up on the board is really our engagement timeline, and there were multiple facets to this. As we wrap this up, I feel like I'm a professional meeting goer and or committee member, because I'm involved in a lot of committees. But it actually being a participant in all of these committees has given me a greater sense of all the different groups, but also some congruencies and a lot of alignment amongst all of those groups. So we have 4 different committees that are part of this process. We have a design advisory committee, which is made up of 40 community members. This was the community group that we asked to step forward. We had a little over 80 applicants for this committee. We had to narrow it down. Unfortunately, we wanted to take everybody, but Integra said, no, it's difficult for us to do the work. We need a smaller group. So we cut that in half, and that group has been meeting. They've had 5 meetings and they've moved through the work pretty quickly. I'll talk a little bit more about each one of these as we go along in a little more detail, but we also have a student design advisory committee made up of Wenatchee High School students, about 20 students that meet regularly, again, 5 times, where they're able to give really meaningful input. And some of the most insightful comments and insight about the high school for me has really come from the high school students themselves and just function and how they'd like to see things come together. We also have a staff advisory committee of Wenatchee High School staff. At the beginning of this process, we actually went through a period called Ed Specs, our Integris team, as well as our ed spec specialists from Teeter Crocker, excuse me, I almost forgot their name. Teeter Crocker actually met one-on-one with each teacher at Wenatchee High School. So every teacher had an opportunity to talk about their space, what their needs were, proximity to other programs within the building. So they really felt heard through that initial process. And we brought together a team of 20 people representing multiple facets of the high school to continue to give us that design input and feedback. We also have an executive committee made up of 16 members. This is our operational directors, some building leaders, to really, again, work with the Integris team from the operational side of the house. We have to think about technology and nutrition services, transportation. Everybody has a stake in this building and is impacted by any changes that would happen to it. So we too meet regularly. So all of those committees are meeting frequently. And then on top of that, we had a very rigorous community outreach schedule of community events. And then again, also some of those opportunities for the public to come in and actually see the inside of Wenatchee High School. And along the way, we've had other opportunities to speak with the media, Spanish radio. Corey has a regular segment on KPQ on the agenda with Dave Bernstein, and just talk to some of our media partners at NCW Life and do an interview. President Jackson had the opportunity to be there for that one. And so we're layering in some of that media to help the community know that we're going through this process and make them aware of the opportunities. But as I said, we have pretty much rounded a corner of finishing up the really heavy engagement. We do have an online survey that's continuing to collect input and will throughout the summer, because it's just giving us some guidance as we begin to refine that overall design. So that'll continue to be open for the public to share input. But any questions about this timeline? Our goal is to get to, well, really next week, next 2 weeks, our first meeting in June for the board. That's where Integris is going to come and present a more in-depth look at what a future design could look like for the high school.
Will they also have a number for us then? Is that?
I think the goal is to have a number for you. Yes. Yeah, that's what we're aiming for. So a preliminary design and then also a number, and that's what you'll be voting on at the end of June. And that's what will be placed on the ballot in November. So we'll begin that process in earnest.
Are they using more detailed estimates for the other 7 schools' HVAC systems as well? Or is that just kind of, are we ballparking that? Because I know they've been really engaged with the high school conversation, but this is 8 different buildings. So
yeah, I believe they're trying to get as detailed as they possibly can on the needs for those, so that the number that we put forward, because that'll need to be on a resolution, is exactly what we need. And we're transparent with the public with that ask. So we're not asking for more than what we actually need.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Absolutely. So again, the goal is to get to kind of a floor plan conceptual design. We're not getting into anything really detailed, but a conceptual design that takes all of these input points and really helps drive that overall design for the future high school, and what spaces we preserve, what spaces might be new, where those all lay out, those kinds of things. That's the direction that we're trying to get to at this point in time. But I'm grateful that we did this, because I think we will ultimately have a better product that to our community is going to be behind, because they had an opportunity to help shape it. So just we're going to walk through each one of these different committees, and I'll tell you a little bit more about them. Our community design advisory team, again, meets 5 times. It's made up of, there are some staff members, there's a lot of community members, people who are retired, people who have young children, people who don't have kids in school. It's a really good cross-section of individuals, people that were really heavily engaged with the school district at one time or another, but maybe haven't been in a long time. Again, former educators, administrators, people with backgrounds in construction, people with backgrounds in just being a homemaker. So a really good mix of people and perspectives with from different walks of life. So we've had some really rich conversations. This group, again, made up of about 40 people. They had the opportunity to travel with us over to Western Washington and visit 4 different schools that were recently constructed to get a sense of what a new school looks like, feels like, functions like, because unless you've had that experience, it's really hard to draw upon what a future school could look like when you're only used to seeing maybe the one high school that maybe you went to. And You don't know what it could be. So that gave folks the opportunity to walk those halls and then bring that input back to the larger group. But they've worked through a number of different exercises, everything from the heart of the school to prioritizing certain things. This picture down here in the lower right-hand corner, we sort of had a heat map, and there were different characteristics of the building that we asked people to prioritize as in they were, really important or they were a lower priority. And we split everybody up into groups, as you can see from some of the pictures there, where they worked through some really hands-on design elements. And this, again, really helped our team at Integris kind of decipher what were some of those priorities and what were some areas where we really needed to pay close attention to. They also had opportunities just for individual input on sticky notes, personal conversations. And so we were really kind of collecting all of that. President Jackson has been part of that team and participated in many of those groups, but it's been great to have people with different perspectives and experiences participate in that.
I'd add that Integris has did a really good job of engaging all the staying late afterwards to talk to people who had a personal thought or a personal reaction to any of this stuff. So they have been great through the process of really staying engaged with anyone who wants to just stay a little longer and talk.
Yeah, and I feel like they've done a good job of creating a safe space where people might be able to share an opinion or a thought that maybe wasn't popular, but it was a space where we could talk through that, and it was a space where we could all share. And so I do think that environment lended itself really well for people to feel comfortable in sharing those perspectives because they matter. And that's who's going to use this building. So it's everybody. So this has been a great group to be involved in. Our hope with this too is that these individuals who are serving on behalf of the community are talking to their friends and neighbors about their experience, and that they're also taking that input from their friends and neighbors and bringing it back to the table and sharing that. The other piece, like I mentioned, that was an area of improvement for us is through student engagement. And this is really, for me, a point of pride and something I feel like we've done really well. In addition to our student advisory, we had the chance to actually tap into our superintendent's advisory council. Not only were they able to provide input early on in the ed spec process, but they had a chance to walk through Westside High School. Many of our students from Wenatchee had never walked through Westside or seen a new building. And so they had the opportunity to be toured around the building by their fellow committee members from Westside. So that you could see the pride in the Westside students of their building and why it mattered to them. And so that was a really fun experience to see that, but great for our Wenatchee High School students to have that experience as well. And they had a chance to, again, provide some really hands-on input. You can see in the lower right-hand corner, they're meeting here in the boardroom with Stephen from Integris and the Integris team with a 3D model. And they got a chance to really just grab a hold of some of those pieces and start moving things around and asking questions. This was very, very early in the process, probably one of the first meetings that we had. And you can see Sierra Cook there in the upper left corner with all the sticky notes and pictures that Integris had brought as part of an activity. So about 12 members from the Superintendent's Advisory Council. They had 2 opportunities, again, to connect with Integris and provide input. I already mentioned our committee members from our student design advisory meeting 5 times at Wenatchee High School. We load them up with pizza and sandwiches, and they have had such great input on design. Things from not only just the function of where things are and proximity of things in the building, but they've thought about the neighborhood. They thought about things like we want to make sure Wenatchee High School or it looks like it belongs and it's part of this neighborhood and it's familiar. So they were just really thoughtful. Also, they were thoughtful not only about themselves and their needs, they were thoughtful about their peers and other things hardships that maybe they had seen other students experience because of some of the limitations of the building. So it was really great to see them work through that process. The picture in the upper left-hand corner there, you can't see that little note there, but it says natural light. There was a theme there. They had some different characteristics again of the building, and they did the same heat map exercise. And that group of boys right there, that was one of their top priorities in red was natural light. As all of the students, that was a top priority for them.
I would say they were pretty unfiltered having supervised one of those. They were saying exactly what they thought.
That was exactly what we were looking for was, yes, an unfiltered, tell us how it is. We need to know what your experience is like, and how we can make it better through thoughtful design.
And there wasn't any crossover between those two groups, right? Like if you were on the SAC, it seemed like there weren't a lot of people who were also in the room.
Is on both of them. Yeah,
Okay.
so she's really the
the
only
one.
one. She's on the ASB at Wenatchee High School as well. So she's continued to be a really strong advocate, and continues to be kind of a character that we continue to see over and over again. That's really bringing voice to and advocacy to this work. So she's a tireless advocate for a new high school or a modernized high school. But student engagement will continue on in different forms too. Yeah, Maria, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
Did we have, no, it's okay. Did we have any participation or is there plans to have participation for middle schoolers?
Yes. So that is something actually we've been talking with the SAC about helping us with, is engaging with our middle schools, doing a presentation or assembly or something along those lines to share the information with them as well. And what could future, a future high school look like for them. Mhm.
I like the idea, but also more input. This is, I mean, maybe not eighth graders, but, and I'm thinking maybe more little middle line of seventh graders. As students, what would they like their future building to look like?
Yeah,
If
and I
that's
think
realistic.
we are definitely, getting to a point, obviously, when the school year is ending here, but this process doesn't end. When we pass the bond, we begin getting into more details, colors, things like that, more design materials and those types of things, where there'll be more opportunities for input on what that design piece looks like. So maybe the inside characteristics of the building itself. But we don't have any plans right now, just to be honest, for the next couple of weeks before school's out for our middle schools. But we have thought about them and making sure we're sharing that information with them. But we can certainly work on ways that we can collect some design input from them as well, because it matters. I mean, that's their future school, and we want to make sure it feels like the place they want to be too.
And I know, like you said, we have 2 weeks of school left, but is there any way we could get a couple student experiences from the tech center? They've been going through construction while they're on campus, and maybe hearing what that's like, because I know that there's a lot of students that will be when we pass the bond, there's gonna be a lot of students that are being impacted by that, and just having some people who've lived it might be helpful just to understand that process.
Yeah, that's certainly something that we can consider and think through how we might be able to do that. Thanks for bringing that up. Absolutely. So this work continues on. All right, moving into our staff design advisory. Like I mentioned, we have about 20 staff members, any number kind of at any given time, depending on what's happening after school with this group. But they will have met 5 times. And again, they're going through the same exact exercises, but their perspectives are different, as different users of the building and residents of the building. So they have some different insights, but they're going through the exact same thing. They've spent a little more time focusing on more of the ed spec pieces. They had that initial one-on-one meeting, but architects are continuing to refine that and ask more thoughtful questions about proximity. Where should the counselor's office be in proximity to the administrative offices? Where in the building should that be located? Some of those types of things are really what they want to make sure they're getting input on from the staff, and what makes the most sense of where those things are located and who's next to who. So also grouping of different academic programs, who shares resources. So some of those things they're really working through closely with the staff to make sure they have good input on that. Our executive team, you can see some pictures here. There's 16 of us. We've had 6 meetings and had the opportunity to do school visits. There were quite a few of us that did end up going over to Western Washington and viewing those schools, again, from a different lens of that operational side of things. If you ask Jen C to share her experience as the transportation director, she's going to tell you all about the best bus ramp or where she thinks the bus ramp should be, and thoughtful about where we have pickups for special education, music students, junior ROTC, where the motor fleet is staged, all of those things. So it's really great to have those different perspectives and lenses. Same thing with nutrition services. How should a commons be set up? What would be the best way to orient the kitchen for deliveries, but for service? And so, because we serve a significant amount of students in a very short period of time every day at the high school with a common lunch. Same thing with safety and security and maintenance and operations. they all have an opportunity to talk through the things that they've seen and their experiences, and also make sure it works for them. I know for Brian in particular, having a building that is easy to maintain, it looks nice, but it's easy to maintain and it's functional. We have longevity of those spaces as well. So those are perspectives and input that our operational team is able to layer in and bring to the table with our architects as well. So focusing on community outreach events, this has been really important to us to get out into community and meet people where they're at. Some of the things that we've participated in is the Apple Blossom Youth Parade. Our original location, we had to modify. We were planning to embed ourselves right in the middle of where the parade staging happened at Triangle Park, and we had to move, which ended up being a blessing. It was a great space we went to. Valley Academy just happens to be on a rondo, and so that's the parade route. We were able to set up in our own yard just right there in the lower right corner. We were able to set up our booth there. We had popsicles to entice students and community members and families to come in, grab a popsicle, and then be able to engage with some of our engagement boards and just talk with us and the architects that day. So we had a lot of traffic coming through. It was great just to see people and be out in community and wave to some of our schools as they went by. So it was great to be there. Ended up being a great experience because people wanted to come in and play on our playground. So that worked out really well to entice people to come and see us. So we also had the opportunity to participate in Day of the Child at Met Howe Park. Our migrant team was out there connecting with families. We did Touch a Truck. Our plan was to do the District Arts Festival, and then unfortunately we had to cancel that. But we did participate in La Terraza in downtown Wenatchee, a mariachi festival concert way back in March. We were there for that, and then we also had a chance to connect with folks at our interagency group that meets here. So a lot of community type outreach events where we had good visibility, and again, people could come in and visit with us and learn a little bit more about the bond, what we're planning, and then be able to provide some of that easy input with some of these sticker activities. That's a great way for people to connect, but then they could also fill out a sheet of paper if they wanted to, or fill out our online form. We held 2 community open houses. So we did 2 of these where we offered student provided and staff member provided tours. I know Wenatchee High School probably better than anybody does after spending a lot of time up there and doing a lot of tours. We had roughly 200 people participate in those tours. Not only those 2 open house nights, but we also had a migrant family night. One of our migrant family evenings, we had an opportunity for family members and whole families to go walk through the high school. And our Avid students helped us with that by guiding those tours in Spanish, but getting people back into the instructional spaces and some of the areas that you don't commonly see. We had about 30 tour guides overall, and then we are hosting some VIP tours. We've got one coming up next week with our Wenatchee City Council. We also will be hosting one later in June for our retired school staff as well. So trying to get some different groups in there as well to give them some VIP tours and answer questions. But it's great to get people into classroom spaces so that they can see what it's like in a windowless classroom, but also they've never seen the pool before, or, let's walk through the kitchen. Let me just show you some of these spaces and what a daily experience is like for our students. So that's been really helpful. And we just had a great crew of people that have assisted with making those happen. And we've met people that we wouldn't normally meet. And a lot of people wanted to come and they were seeking answers they wanted to see for themselves. And so we appreciated folks coming out who were maybe skeptical of the bond, but they wanted to see it themselves and they wanted to ask questions. So we're really grateful for them to come out and have that experience. The other thing I mentioned that we've been doing and will continue to do through the summer is our online input form. We have 3 questions on it. It's really simple. But we do ask people in that form to help us prioritize where they want to see the building go and what their top priorities are. We have a list of things that they can choose from. These are the top 3 things that people said. The number 1 thing that they mentioned was safety and security is the top priority. That has continued time after time, survey after survey that we've completed over the last 3 years. It has always been safety and security is the top priority. Focus on longevity and sustainability. So they want to see that in a new build. Things like durability, longevity, energy efficiency were all terms that people selected. They want to see something that's sustainable. So they want to make sure that investment is longstanding, it's durable, we can keep up with it. It's not just fancy and looks nice. It needs to be functional, durable, and last another 54 years and beyond. The other thing that they prioritized, that was the third one, was views, natures, and outdoor spaces. This also means windows. It's highlighting the importance of natural light in that building, which we know it significantly lacks, but also, bringing the outside in and really taking advantage of some of the sweeping views that we do have on the school property. So those are the three top priorities that folks have said. We have a little over 200 responses to that survey at this point in time, and I suspect these will continue to stay the same, but we'll be monitoring those as we go along. All this feedback too goes directly to Integris, so they can continue to monitor that and then work that into the design. Spaces that the community wants to use. That was a question on the online survey, and these are in order in which people are in rank order. They want to continue having access to our outdoor fields and courts. Although our tennis courts are condemned, but if we had them, they would want to use them. They want to still have access to our auditorium for assembly and performance space. So we know that to be true. Also indoor athletics, use of gyms, weight rooms, and the swimming pool, and then gathering spaces for social and community. So these are all highlights of the high school and all reasons why people come there, whether it's student events or community events. We know this is exactly Wenatchee High School meets this need, but could continue to do so in a modernized space. Okay, so what's next? We sort of foreshadowed this just a little bit, but we're getting to that point in time where we are coming up with a conceptual floor plan. Where are things going to go? We'll have that floor plan and cost finalized, which will be then presented to the board. So Integris is going to come and walk you through that process. On June 23rd, at that meeting, you'll be looking at a couple of board actions. One is to approve the resolution that's going to have that dollar amount and description of what will be on the ballot, in November. And the other thing will be to appoint a pro and con committee. This is something that's relatively new. When we ran our last levy, we experienced this for the first time. It is our responsibility to advertise, collect people who would like to serve on writing a pro statement for the bond and also a con statement against. Those two statements go in the ballot, so they are actually in the voters' information. We have to collect all of those names, and then the board actually appoints those individuals to serve. And then it's their responsibility to draft those documents and then make sure that they're submitted on time so that they do get on the ballot. So that will be another action that is taking place. We are currently accepting applications for both until June 1st. So we're getting to that deadline, but we do have some people who have submitted their names. June through August, this is really where we are working on our campaign materials. So all the literature, our website, all of those things, this is how I'm going to be spending my summer, is working on developing those campaign materials. So once we have the plan and the dollar amount, we'll be able to really get into more details to provide that information to our public that they want to know. What's this going to cost me? Where are you building this? Those kinds of questions. August 18th is our official opening day for the school district. That's when our staff return, and that is our official campaign kickoff. So that's our informational campaign kicking off for the school district. And then mid-October, that's when ballots arrive in the mail, usually right around October 15th-ish, somewhere in there. And then November 3rd is election day. So it goes really fast. So as soon as that last board meeting of our school year happens, things are going to move rather swiftly as we near November 3rd. So that's an overview of the community engagement that we've participated in and the feedback that we've collected, again, with the goal of having that floor plan and that dollar amount to the board here really soon. So any questions on any of the engagement work that we've done, committees, anything along those lines?
I don't have a question, but I just want to make it perfectly clear for the public record that these next steps are assuming we adopt that resolution
Correct.
on June 23rd.
Yeah, if you take action and you do approve that on June 23rd, yes, this would be the timeline that would take place, but nothing happens until the board actually makes that resolution and passes that. And I believe we have until August actually to do that, but because of the board recess in July, that's why we have a bit of an accelerated timeline.
I just want to commend your guys' team, Diana, for the communication, the publicity that the need for the needs of the district, the high school, the failing systems in our other schools. Gosh, this is probably, haven't been involved directly or indirectly with different bonds and levies. This has probably been the most informative with such a grand time span. So I just want to say kudos to you, the team, the cabinet team. I'm not sure who all is behind the scenes, but very impressed, and I think it's our year. It's all the work that you guys have been doing.
Yeah, we're definitely moving swiftly. And, we're getting a lot of positive response from community. Again, this is just kind of a summary, but people recognize the need for the high school. I think we don't have to convince anybody that the high school is old and we have aging systems. Our biggest challenge, and this as a board, is the financial one and being able to make that work. But we're doing the right work in looking at our spaces and trying to figure out what we can reuse and we can enhance that continue to be great spaces, but where areas where we do need to make those changes, we need to have some new construction that is going to provide a safe and secure space for our students to learn and moving forward.
So to that note, when when the resolution is presented to the board, are we going to have different options? Tucker brought in the cost. We briefly saw the two different, like a whole new high school versus keeping some of the buildings. Are we going to be able to see the different scenarios at different cost?
I don't have an answer to that right now.
No, I don't believe you will. I think that's the work that the Integris has been doing, is trying to figure out exactly what that option is going to be for the board to look at. And the feasibility studies that they went through were not things that we knew before. So it's kind of exciting to be able to have the auditorium be able to stay, and the gym and the pool be able to stay as well for potentially millions of dollars of savings. Yeah.
So is the resolution just to put it on the ballot?
Correct.
Is there for a specific amount?
Correct.
Yes, it's for a specific amount. So
Yep.
It's the language that will then go on the ballot.
And I'll say it's like part of the design committee, that conversation was like, here's option one, here's option two, option three. And then they'd take all our feedback and say, okay, here's new option one, here's new option two, here's new option three. And so this work that they've done, like one, the facility committee was, do we want to just do the high school or do we want to do everything? So the facility committee was definitely like, we should do it all, because as soon as we start asking for money, after we've asked for money, everyone's be like, whoa, 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 whoa. So like that was the work was initially done. The facility committee was, we need to touch all these buildings in one go. And then that's the process has been in the design committee that Integris has been doing is, what's this look like? Okay, now refined with input. Now here's what that is. So
no, I get that part, but I guess we're going to be presented with the resolution with the set amount with no low end and high end. So, do you see what I'm saying? So in my head, I'm thinking we are asking our taxpayers to contribute to this project. As a responsible board member, I'm going to go with the lower cost of retain, so that and if that means retaining our current auditorium, pool, etc., then I'm gonna vote for the resolution that provides the less impact to our constituents.
And that's the one that you'll be presented with.
Yeah.
So the board isn't choosing one or the other.
No, we're presenting with you the most efficiently cost product for our community to vote on.
So when you present that resolution, is there going to be a presentation of what
Yeah.
we would be getting?
Yes.
Yeah, next board meeting on the 10th will be that presentation from Integris.
Yeah,
And
they're
then,
gonna go through all those.
and then we'll have a discussion, and then the resolution will be at the meeting after. Yeah.
So I think I'm tracking it too with what Maria's concern is. And because I appreciate all the work that has gone into making sure that we are just asking for what is minimally reasonable to take care of what we need. So I know whatever we're going for is going to be conservative because we could have asked for, 400 million and do all the schools, but that'll never pass. So I appreciate the work that's gone into sizing it right for what we need. I think where some of the concern comes in is how are these 80% plans that we're going to be presented with? Are these like 90%? I mean, what is the flexibility in the amount that we're going to be presented with? Because there's still going to be a lot of design left. And I think that's where some of the buy-in from community that we've seen from other bonds that have succeeded is the community wants to feel like they were heard, and you've done a good job up until we get to that amount, but there's still, we're not actually approving the final plan. And so what level of flexibility are we still going to have? And we know we're approving the amount, but are we going to get for this amount, we can get an option 1, 2, or 3, or there's going to be some a little bit of scaling that we can do, depending on how design or build goes, or maybe we decide we don't want to do all 7 HVACs. And so that puts more money into the school. So now that opens a option B. Like, I know we're approving the amount, but like what percentage of the plan are we going to be approving?
So the answer that Diana and I have for you right now is we'll be giving you a number that will be based on what was approved in the facilities planning committee last June. And then and then we have 16 months. Once we pass the bond, then we have 16 months of design that will actually give us the design, the architectural plans, the building. All of that happens after the bond is approved. So you will have a building plan and you'll be able to see that at scale, and where things are going to go. But that's where we will be. Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing is that and I don't know if Integris will show this during the meeting, but they have a dashboard where they plug all of these different amounts for all the different aspects of a build, soft costs, hard costs, all of those things in there to get to that dollar amount that we're going to ask taxpayers for. When we put that on the ballot, that amount never changes. That is the amount that our public will be voting on. And if they vote yes, that is the budget. So we have to stay within that. Our last bond that passed in 2014 for the construction of Washington and Lincoln, we ended up having $3 million of funding left over that wasn't used because of just, savings and efficiencies that we were able to reinvest back into facilities. The hope is that we would be in that same situation, or we can move monies elsewhere to enhance programs, just similar to what they were talking about with the tech center here just a few minutes ago. But that dollar amount doesn't change. That's what's approved by taxpayers, and that's the budget that we need to stick within. So there's not any overages or contingencies there. So that's the dollar amount. Hopefully that rate will go down, and that's the only change that we might see. That again, that's on the taxpayer side of things. But the work that's being done right now with Integris is taking our structural engineers, our civil engineers, and looking at all of those spaces. Like we mentioned, the auditorium, the gymnasiums, and the pool. And they'll walk you through all of this, but determining if those are spaces that are feasible to keep, that can be modernized and brought, up to a 21st century standard of where they need to be. And that's where we can recoup a lot of savings to the tune of potentially $20 million by saving those spaces. What areas are not salvageable in their professional opinion, based on what they know from engineers and other experts, and where do we need to build new? So the proposal that they will be bringing and walking through will be a combination of modernization of some of those big ticket large spaces that our community enjoys, and also reconstruction of some of the more interior spaces and the classroom spaces based on, again, that community input.
Thank you.
Does that
That
make
makes
sense?
more sense. I'll probably have a lot of questions June 10th.
Yeah, but the driver was based on the facilities recommendation. So that's the high school project, but then that total price tag too includes the HVAC improvements at 7 different locations, of which, you know, an elementary system might look different than a middle school. But overall, it'll be one total price, and that's what will be put on the ballot.
And so what I'm understanding then is that we're going to be voting on an overall concept, not the specific building design. And the overall concept
Correct.
will likely be a combination of modernization and new build.
Yes.
Versus full on blow up new build.
Yes.
And then what that ends up looking like will be determined based on the budget and the planning down the road.
Yep. So have to stick within that budget. Yes. And that when we were talking about more opportunities for input on design, there will be likely a design committee that will work through some of the more fine details of things, carpets, flooring, you know, wall, all of those kinds of like artwork, you know, those aspects that are really exciting to start thinking about. But what you're going to see is conceptual. Where are things going to go? Big blocks. Where are things going to go? What are we going to keep? And then what do we need to build new based on what our needs are? So that's really been the most important thing to get out of this process is keeping and then reconstruction flow, what makes the most sense on the 34-acre site, what makes the most sense from, again, those operational standpoints, student standpoints, safety and security. So you're going to see big blocks concepts. You're not going to see anything that will be fine-tuned to any degree, because we'll have time to be able to do that through whatever build process we decide to go through. But the other important thing to know too is that we do not get our state match until that bond passes. So if we take the 7 schools off the table, if that was something that were to happen, which I don't think it will, we lose SCAP dollars that go towards the overall project, which for the 2 locations, the high school and all of those school sites. So just something to understand in that overall financial landscape is those SCAP dollars, which are high right now. We want to make sure 25% of or 20% of the project cost, we believe, are going to play a big role in our ability to fund this thing without getting into too high of a price tag. But again, we're still working through those details. But seeing that dashboard for me was really helpful in knowing how we could adjust some numbers. And that's what they're really working through right now with all the other experts to make sure we have good, accurate estimates, because that's going to be important that we're not undercutting ourselves for some of these projects, that we're making sure that we can hit those targets. Yeah. Okay, I think that was my last slide. Yep, that was it. Any further questions?
Thanks, Diana. I appreciate you covering this. It's interesting when you think of the time that we've had since we had a presentation from our facilities committee to now, and how have we intentionally filled that time with community engagement. And I couldn't have imagined a better process, and one that was that has been what I feel is impactful on the different folks that we have been able to talk with and engage with. And like Diana said, people came to these meetings in the open house. They're like wanting to know, like I'm a little skeptical, like Diana said, and I want to know more, and I want to know how I can support this work. And it's been really a fantastic journey, and I really feel like we have engaged our community, that the part of the community that wants to be engaged.
Yeah, and
it's been good.
This fall during campaign time, we'll have more opportunities to show people, here's the concept of here's where, you know, the classrooms are going to be, or here's where the commons might be, to engage them around what that conceptual floor plan would look like, and invite them back to the high school as it currently stands. So there'll be more of those opportunities for engagement. And if a board member ever wants a behind the scenes tour, you just let me know. I'd be happy to take you there. So from the roof to the kitchen to all the back doors, all 111 of them, I know where they're at. So anyways, feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to do that. So, all right. Thank you.
All right. So it looks like special presentations are done. We're moving on to discussion. We're going to talk about board norms and operating principles. I think we talked about this as something that, you know, we have 2 relatively new board members. Like, how do we make sure that we are all on the same page? We had part of our workshop was talking about what our strengths and weaknesses are as a group and how we can improve and how we can generate some goals. But I think also addressing the board norms for the group and just being clear about what those are seems like it's a really important step. I know we all had them as part of the agenda. Is there anything anyone wants to talk about just in particular? I would say for me, I'll go first, as I often do. So it's any questions, comments, or concerns for staff are to be sent to the superintendent and CC the executive assistant to the superintendent. The superintendent will direct the information to the appropriate individuals for response, and board members will not communicate directly with cabinet, principals, or any other staff members through email, phone calls, or text messages. And I think that this is the life of four of us are parents, and one of us, the remaining person not a parent, also was in school, right? So was a teacher in the school. So we have colleagues and touch points in the district, and I think that it's important to honor our community and have some conversations. I think for me, the spirit of this is we need to make sure that we're including Corey in all those conversations, because at the end of the day, we're not able to address staff directly. And so, Corey, obviously, I'm going to let you speak for your comfort in terms of what conversations we're having. But I think clarifying, how you want us to handle those conversations, and so we're all on the same page with that, is an important way for us to make sure we're all staying in our lane.
One of the, sorry, Corey, you brought up, being a parent, and I think this one's a big one. And, when I function under my parent hat, I don't use my district email address. Those are two separate hats that I wear: my school board member hat and then my parent hat. Never will you see email to Washington or to Orchard or to Lewis and Clark from my school district email, because I think there's an importance of using the position of power. Board member Noah's mom, etc. So I think that's really important for us to understand. The second point I want to make to this is that I think this is one of the things that we briefly discussed at last week's work session. This is kind of a big no-no, because I think in the governance model, because we are a governing board, we have one employee, and I think we have to be very, very careful. We as a board work as a board of five. And to say, oh yeah, the board's going to do this, or guys, I'm very cautious about crossing that line where we are representing ourselves as individuals with employees versus directing the superintendent, or directing, for lack of a better word, the superintendent. That's my concern. So I don't know if you're proposing that we eliminate this, or if, Corey, how would you approach this?
Do any other board, but before I respond, I'd love to hear if any other board members have comments or feedback on that specific bullet point.
Yeah, my comment is I agree with what's been stated, is we need to keep our parent and our board hats separate. We also, will find ourselves at schools and having conversations. And so we need to know what the appropriate threshold is to escalate things to the superintendent, because we don't want to give the impression that we can escalate anything just because of who we are or what we do, because we don't want to create that appearance anywhere. So I feel like this last sentence is a little too inflexible, but conceptually I get what we're, I think, trying to message. And I'd be curious if the superintendent has any proposed modifications to kind of clarify, so that it makes a little more sense how we communicate, because we can't just say we're never going to talk to anybody in the buildings. But at the same time, we absolutely need to know our roles and what is expected of us, to know, you know, what to bring to you. And, you know, certainly we don't make representations on our own. But I just, you know, now today's so tech savvy way, it's like, if we're getting stuff through Parent Square on the, you know, from my kid's school, does this count as a text? You know, I don't want to be in the technical gotchas either. You know, maybe just some rephrasing of that particular one. That's, I think, the only thing that's jumped out at me. Most of these are all otherwise very straightforward and almost disappointing. We had to write them down at one point. But totally makes sense, you know, pretty common sense. But yeah, that one seems to be, maybe every board has their hot topic. And I think now that you've got a board of so many parents and things, that is maybe, or with people in schools more frequently now, or at school events, maybe one that we need some better guiding clarification on.
Mark or Carolyn, any thoughts?
I mean, I agree. I think the basis of our position is that we're going to get asked questions or comments from the public. And I've just felt, which I've said before, that happy to just pass those on because I don't need to be the middleman. So I do like the way it's, I like the idea of it. I do think the last sentence could be massaged to be more related to this exact topic. Like, as such, we won't be involved in those conversations.
I was recently at a training for the Association for Community and Technical Colleges, and one of the sessions was on the role of the board and the president. And in there was a slide that said the public needs to, or no, it wasn't the public. It might have been in general. In regards to staff, any email sent to a board member, the superintendent, or the president will know about it. Not in those words. Again, I think it's so that there's, you know, and I think I don't think there's any ill intent in saying, oh, you can't. I mean, I agree that needs to be massaged. Maybe the superintendent will be informed of communications, because we can't stop people from emailing us. Which we do get a lot of emails. Well, not a lot, but in past years, we have gotten a lot of emails from staff. Yeah.
Well, I think I appreciate you, Tucker, you triangulating on that. I think the intent, and I think we all know this from that particular statement, it's to protect the board members and the district at the same time. Like, that's the goal of that statement. And with a high functioning board like we have right now, and a board that if anyone is listening and would like to know more about how high functioning this board is, please refer to our board workshop from a week ago, last Monday. I thought it was great. And it's interesting. And Julie, to your point, when you mentioned, like, it was, you know, it's sad that we had to write these at some point, but it's when you get to a point where, what are the things that you're concerned about now? And we triangulate on this one piece that speaks volumes to this board and the work that they're doing and how we function and how you interact with me as your employee. So I would just appreciate that. What I would love to do, if it's comfortable with the board members, is let's work on that bullet point, and we'll come back with some ideas that allow some flexibility in that last sentence, because I do appreciate how you are working with our staff and working with the things that are brought to you. I don't think that anyone's overstepping their reach or anything, but I do want to make sure that I'm in the know of the conversations, and especially when those conversations can lead to how we're operating as a district and how we can impact differently our constituents, because often the things that you're dealing with are not often just celebrations. Sometimes you do get celebrations, but usually they're concerns, and those concerns, if I don't know about them, I can't do anything about them. And so that's the great piece of our collaborative working relationship. So if it's okay with you all, maybe we'll come up with a couple different options of what this bullet point can look like. And we'll come back and maybe have a future conversation about that. If that works out. Does that seem reasonable?
I
Okay.
appreciate you saying that it protects the board and the district. I think, I just briefly Googled, roles of board members, and it says here, it's respecting the chain of command. And I think that that's kind of what it comes down to. Oftentimes, if it's not an invitation or a celebration, it's a complaint or a concern, right? And we do have a chain of command in the district. And so it says direct complaints on personnel issues to the superintendent or appropriate administrative channels rather than attempting to micromanage school staff. So yeah, I what would, are you guys, are we going to provide input? Are you guys going to come up with something and then share, or?
Yeah, how would you like to see that? I mean, I feel like I've gotten enough flavor of the conversation that we can come up with some options of what that sentence could read, and then I can add them in the weekly, and then we can get some feedback and come back here and talk about it. If you have suggestions, please send them to me. We can start there. I think you're formulating one right now in your brain. It looks like, oh no, it's like, that would be awesome. Yeah.
I just think maybe you can just strike the last sentence and then just elaborate a little bit more on how we direct it to you, and then you take it from there.
I like your comment though about respect the chain of command. So I almost feel like that should be the opening, like short sentence to that part.
It's more like
then
in
the-
order to maintain the chain of command. Blah, blah,
Something
blah.
like that. Yeah, I mean, I guess respect is sounds hard, but yeah. Follow the chain of command or abide by a chain of command, including, yeah, I mean, we don't need to
Yeah, I think
do
maybe
it totally
we're-
here, but yeah,
Well,
that's the theme. And
maybe we're just overcomplicating it and we could just whip it up now.
yeah, I mean, I'm good with doing that, or
Yep.
if policy committee, if we want to send in a couple sound bites and you put something together, give it to policy committee and you massage it. I mean, I'm not
That's a
gonna
great
lose
option
lot of
too.
Sleep on it either way, so.
I apologize. I did not come ready to
No.
with that one, but
I think
we-
policy committee sounds great.
I think policy committee sounds all right too.
I mean,
Yeah, that sounds
and we'll just all plan on sending something to Corey.
Please.
If you have any comments on what could be better. To chain of command, and then Corey can bring that to the policy committee. And then we can do it as an official policy, or great.
We can take it along. Yeah, we can take it along those means and have a first and second read. That makes total sense. And if there are any other pieces in this that you'd also like to recommend to the policy committee to review, we can do that as well.
I mean, I'm assuming we don't want to take anything out. I mean, it's all that stuff that all seems like normal stuff. It's, like I said, a little embarrassing. We have to write it down, but like, it doesn't change the fact that it's good to have in there.
Well, okay, I will say, and I don't know how these were created or when, as somebody who spent 5 years on a team remaking roles and norms each year, I don't like a lot of this. I don't know where it came from, if it's WASDA stuff or whatever, but we made them. Okay, well, sorry.
There's an example for each thing.
Yes, well, and I'm sure some of it is like, yeah, duh, like don't interrupt each other. Like that's good to have written just to have, but like the board agenda is developed to ensure the meeting is run efficiently. Like we don't develop the agenda. That's not something that we do. I mean, we communicate if we have changes or things about it, but that's not really a norm for, like, I don't know.
So we actually have a board policy that says any board member can add something to the agenda, but we do the agenda planning meetings. So there is, I think, input on the board, and plus there's always that fallback policy.
Okay.
So, I mean, they are our meetings and our agendas. So we do in fact,
Okay,
create
they're
the
just
agendas.
online or like emailed agenda, like. Maybe this is questions for a different time. I'm confused, so.
No, those are great questions. I mean, I think that the district does create an agenda. It's a agreed upon flow. And then we have the agenda review, which is if anyone has any concerns or issues or wants to add anything, I think that's the process. And so the board agenda itself in its entire makeup is developed to ensure that meetings run quickly and efficiently. And I think that's where the consent agenda comes in. We have so many things that are compressed in that so that you have time to review it, ask questions. But then when it comes to the meeting, we don't normally have to spend any time on it because it's just for efficiency purposes.
Well, and I think we also, as board members, have, we can ask for something to be on the board agenda. And Tim's presentation was fabulous today. And in my head, I'm thinking, well, Tim's on his way out. This is great as a wrap up of the work he's been doing, right? Or work as handing over to the new person. In my head, I'm thinking, oh, Alfonso's position. I would like to hear, the work that Alfonso has been doing throughout the year and how it's going to be transitioned. I might call you and say, hey, Corey, what do you think? And so that kind of goes through that bullet point. One of the other things we need to remember, I mean, yes, I agree. Some of this is like basic stuff, play nice, be respectful, whatever. But we don't change these every time a board member comes in. So these might not apply to the current board right now, but say, one of us or two leave whatever, because it's happened in the past when there's been more than one vacancy. The new, now in that person might not play nice, or there's differences. You already have a set of norms.
And not to beat the agenda one too much, I can see why it's in here to just basically kind of discourage a member bringing things to every meeting, even though we have that power to ask for something to be on the agenda. It's courteous to signal in advance that you want it on the agenda so that the meeting runs smoothly versus 5 of us showing up on the day of the meeting and saying, well, I want to add this and I want to add that. And why is this on here and whatever. It's,
okay.
We have a largely agreed upon agenda that's sent to us in advance. So we kind of know what to expect. If we want to see something else added, it doesn't preclude us from asking for it.
I think I was just reading it. Like I was reading it as we are creating this versus like we are agreeing upon this and adding to it prior in order to have an effective meeting, which I think was the goal. Okay. Okay, perfect. That makes more sense. Okay. Oh shoot, I had something else, but I don't remember.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna go through the process of the first read, second read, then we can bring up those things. If if you see anything, we can alert the district. But I think overall, just keeping those baseline play nice things makes sense, and you can always lean into that at some point in the future if you need to.
That was it, not the play nice. You just made me think of it. Because this is the first time I'm seeing this. I don't know if you've seen these before, or if they're in here, right? So I guess as a new board member, I would appreciate having this like walked through when I first start. And I know that we kind of do all of this stuff this time of year, I guess, to kind of board workshop and get better together. But yeah, I guess I just wish I had paid more attention to this at the start, or like, yeah, because that would have been nice for
Well,
me.
I think what we can do is we do have a board policy on what needs to be, what each board member needs to have gone over when we first meet with them and onboard them. We can add those pieces to it.
And maybe it's already in there and I just missed it. Oh, it's completely possible.
There's a lot.
There's
Yeah,
a lot.
so it's,
There's a
yeah, it's
lot.
possible
Yeah.
that I just skipped right over it and didn't even look closely.
Well, it's a good
but
point. We'll make sure that it is on there regardless.
Save me from next time.
Yeah, no, and as an existing board member, I want to apologize that you don't feel like you've gotten the full on board, because I think that this was because when Maria and I came on, both it was 2 of us at the same time, and it was coming in at that very sort of dysfunctional. So the first thing we did was have this meeting where we're like, why are we going over all this stuff? Isn't this pretty self-explanatory? So I feel like we probably didn't do that enough, maybe for you, and especially because Mark joined us a little bit earlier and then just got elected, so it didn't feel as abrupt of a change. So no, I feel bad that this is the first time you're seeing them, and we didn't actually go over them a little bit more thoroughly. So That's just.
Yeah, I just think maybe, I just think it's a good opportunity for us to look at them again. And I think there's like an opportunity to consolidate a couple of them together and just make it a little bit more streamlined. And yeah, I'd love a one page.
Would it be possible for Kim to send the electronic version of this, like a copy of it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, we
well,
can't. But you could do like what we did for the evaluation, right? You could send us each a copy. We could make notes on it, type of thing.
We just have a Google Doc. Where we'll
Yes.
edit?
Yeah, we can send
We
it.
just need
Yep.
request edit. Should we all request edit access?
Mm-hmm. We'll make sure you get that.
thing.
Oh, we all need our own.
Yeah.
That's
Need our own, need to send it to somebody to consolidate.
just like Caroline said, when we send the Google Doc, it makes you make your own copy and then we can each have one. I think that's a good idea. Yep.
Thank you, board council.
Okay, so
Right.
we know what we're doing.
Yeah, we feel good about that.
Okay.
Great. That
I like
means a superintendent report.
Let's do it. Last week we had some fun. I was able to attend the Wawa yearbook pre-sale party, which was huge. Super fun. So anyone that bought a yearbook before the last 3 weeks of school was able to attend. They get their yearbook early. There was a DJ, there was pizza, it was beautiful weather. We were out in the courtyard. It was incredible. Shout out to Dr. Yamothy and her yearbook team for really making it huge. I talked to students afterward and they're like, I had no idea. One, that my mom bought me a yearbook at the beginning of the school year, and two, that this was going to be so much fun. So the entire lunch period was pretty special for the students. So it was great. The other thing, AP Human Geography, or AP HUG as they call it. The AP test may be over, but the students are working hard on their annual documentary video that they create from the Our Valley, Our Future annual report. And when students pick Wenatchee High School modernization for the last 3 years, they call Diana and I, and we do lots of interviews, and it's been awesome. It's so fun. So I don't know, how many have you done? Have you done 2 or 3? Okay, and I've done 2 as well this year. So you've done 2 as well. So it's pretty fun. Really engaging. A lot of students are like, oh, they're just like, wow, this is happening. And yes, so it's been great. So a couple of those. The last thing.
Sorry, did you guys test them to see ask them how they were going to film? Because they were like, one of them was like, we're gonna do it on our phone. I was like, okay, go for it. And then they're like, oh, I need the yonder pouch open. I was like, that was a test.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I was definitely like, yeah, go ahead with your phone.
Yes, so the students that were with me got approval from Mrs. Wilson first, and they unlocked their phone, and then we went to the library together. So it was good.
Yeah.
I know it was an interesting challenge. Last thing, migrant graduation night on Friday was just incredible. It was just an amazing evening celebrating our students K-12. Every single migrant student was able to come across the stage, shake far too many people's hands, but it was awesome. And then they each got a photo of their individual school. And one of the more special parts of the evening was the retirement tributes to both Tim Shepard and Alfonso Lopez, where Alfonso's family came on stage while this tribute was happening. And then, of course, Alfonso is no stranger to a microphone. He grabbed that microphone, and I'm not sure everything that he said, but he was crying and the crowd was crying and his wife was consoling him. It was a beautiful moment, and that could never be replicated. So it was amazing. So thank you for that.
All right. So Mark points out that we always during the, oh, got one more. Oh, okay. During board communication, I always start on the outside. So Julie, would you like to go first?
Okay. I don't really have anything, but I just want to go back to Diana's presentation and say thank you for putting all this work into the community outreach. And I think it's a really it's great that you've had the opportunities to do this and get out there, because it means that other parts of the district are working well to free up some of your time to do that. So I appreciate even those who aren't involved in these communications, like the budget folks and everybody else in the other departments that are running really strong and have really refined the things that they need to do, so that you're finding time to be able to do all this work, because it's a ton of engagement work. So I just appreciate all the work.
All right, Maria.
I don't have any updates. However, so you reminded me of the Yonder Pouch, and I briefly was listening to the radio about the study made of the research school districts that have banned cell phone use during the school day. And it was a little bit of a mixed bags of review, because they were the research was hoping to find an increase in achievement. However, there was an increase in in a positive way of the mental health of students in a very positive way. So listening to that, to me, again, as a parent, it's what social media, what little personal computers we carry on our hands has created a big concern for society, for parents, is the mental health aspect of it. So to hear that, and it felt good to know that we are, maybe it doesn't seem like it for students, but we are definitely moving in the right direction, and glad we got this, we were able to approve that, and because our students' well-being is one of the most important things.
Good one. Caroline?
Not too much. We had the WASDA legislative conference last week. It was really fun. They gave us Olive Garden, and I ate way too much. But got to connect with some really good people. Senator Ibarra. Yeah, he was great. He sat at my table for a little while, and then representatives from like Quincy and different places in our district. And so it was really nice. Got some really cool ideas on how to connect with the community and try to get more people to provide information and comments for us, that maybe would go a little bit outside of the box on some of our surveys and other stuff that we do. So excited to share those at some point.
Great, thanks. All right, finally, Mark.
I feel like I was thinking I'm going to get you one of those cups with the sticks with our names like they use in elementary school, so you can draw out to see who gets to give theirs first.
I've been told by teachers that sometimes they don't always read the name that's actually on the stick, though.
I also attended the WASDA regional meeting, and it was great. We learned a lot and set some lofty goals for seeing what they hoped we were all doing. So that was exciting. It's like, if you thought the guidelines were crazy, but okay. And then I also attended the drama trip. The ASB took the drama kids to Seattle, to the Fifth Avenue Theater and Paramount Theater. That was really exciting to harangue 14 kids around Seattle, and we loved it. And I also wanted to give a shout out to Diana. I really loved the chart you had in your presentation that showed all the dots of what we've done and what's planned. I thought that was really impactful, that our community members can see how many times we're engaging and also possible future engagements. Normally we're not showing it in a snapshot that's so easy for them to see all of that. That was it.
Thank you. And I'll add your like professional meeting, and you get to say, I was at all these dots. I was at a couple of them, and it felt like a lot. And I was like, that wasn't more than me. Nice work. I just want to say thank you to the other board members and Corey for our workshop on the 18th. I thought that was really productive. I thought it was really nice to have a chance to like talk about some of the stuff that we do, because we legally can't normally. So it was a good workshop, and that's it. So executive session. The school board will now recess into executive session for a period of 30 minutes until 8:53 PM to evaluate the qualifications of an applicant for public employment or to review the performance of a staff member and to consider the minimum price at which real estate will be offered for sale or lease when public knowledge regarding such consideration would cause a likelihood of decreased price. Pursuant to district policy number 1410 and RCW 4230-110, this discussion will be closed to the public. The school board is not expected to take final action following the executive session. Meeting's adjourned.